The Huskies finished 4th in the college football playoffs and play Alabama in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Kellen, you are our resident football expert. How can the Huskies beat Alabama?
Well, they're going to have to play a pretty close to perfect game if they want to beat Alabama. I believe Jake Browning needs to play the game of his life if they have a chance of winning this football game. I believe there is a chance, just like they say in Dumb and Dumber, if there's a chance. But what I love about this UW Husky team is I believe they want Alabama. I believe they wanted USC a couple weeks ago. And that's what I'm really looking forward to watching this team play is it doesn't matter who's across the chalk, they're ready to play. Browning, like I mentioned, cannot underthrow Ross. And if Ross gets open, they got to take advantage of his speed. I believe when it comes to the two lines, it no question will lean toward Alabama's side. But at the same time, Heino, right before we got on the air, made a great point. It's not like Alabama has blown out a lot of teams this year from the get-go. And so if the Huskies can kind of get some points on the board early, Alabama's going to have to kind of change their attack. And I believe, when Coach Peterson has, 3 weeks to prepare against a great team, I believe that's in the Huskies' favor. I believe if this game was this week, it would be Alabama by 35. But the fact that Peterson and the Huskies coaching staff has a couple of weeks to game plan and prepare, and obviously this also goes towards Nick Saban. It doesn't help giving Nick Saban extra weeks, but I think it's even more in the favor of the Huskies, the fact that this game will be played in a couple of weeks here. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I think that's fair. Speaking of fair, the Peach Bowl will be played in Atlanta. Lacey, I want to ask you, is it fair that the game is held so close to Alabama, or is that what they deserve as the number 1 seed?
Well, guys, I'm curious if someone can enlighten me. Does anyone know how they pick where the game's going to be played?
I do not.
Drew, do you know?
They rotate through they rotate a couple different stadiums in the South for the Southern Bowl games. They rotate a couple different stadiums. It just kind of depends. I know where the Rose Bowl is played every year. That's pretty. That's a staple. But besides that, so most of the other bowls rotate.
So, yeah, I think that's definitely going to have an impact on the game, considering the fact that the Dogs are going to have to travel nearly across the country, and Alabama just has to go right next door, basically. And it might also impact the number of fans that are going to be at the game for Alabama versus UW. Is it fair? Probably not, but does Alabama deserve it? I would say so, being the number 1 seed. And ultimately what it comes down to, guys, is the Dogs can't let the outside factors phase them in this game. Ultimately, it's a football field that they're playing on. They've been playing on a football field all season long. They just got to get it done.
That's, yeah. Drew, you talk about how the SEC has just bigger dudes and they're badder and blah, blah, blah. Every week.
You hate me. I swear you hate my takes 90% of the time.
It gets so old.
Well, yeah, because I'm sorry that I'm consistent and correct. I apologize. That's my bad.
Let me know. Is it going to make a difference between the two? Is that really going to be the difference that Alabama's just bigger, so they're going to win? Like, is that all it is?
I don't think that's all it is. I think you have the number 1 football coach in probably America in Nick Saban. I think you have the greatest collection of football talent in terms of recruiting that you have. They have a great offensive coordinator. They have a budding star at quarterback. Alabama is a great football team, but you can't discount the fact that they're in the SEC, and that's where the best linemen come out of every single year. You don't get a lot of great interior guys out of the Pac-10 or the Pac-12 or whatever we want to call it these days. That's where you get some of the best skill guys, a la Andrew Luck. Here's the deal, Christian. It's not that I'm out here just spewing this stuff that I think Alabama's just going to roll them, because Vegas agrees with me. Vegas opened the lineup at 11-point odds. Then it rose to 14 last night, and then early this morning the odds are at 16.5, the largest line ever.
Didn't we do the odds thing when the Dolphins played the Seahawks, and I was the only one that said the Dolphins would win? This is different, but I'm just saying. And odds aren't always right.
True.
No, but Vegas isn't going to purposely lose money on one of the 2 biggest betted games out of the next 6 months. You understand what I'm saying? Like 16.5 is enormous. However, hold on. Although they're opening up as an early favorite, Chris Peterson has had a lot of success with time to prep. He pulled off an upset at Oklahoma at the 2007 Fiesta Bowl. Later against Oregon in 2009, and then Virginia Tech in 2010. So with time to prepare, Chris Peterson's good. However, to quote a very wise coach that I once knew, he always used to say it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes. And Alabama has better Jimmies and Joes than UW.
Well, okay, I'll counter with this. I want to know if the Crimson Tide has faced a passing offense that is as good as Washington's can be when they are on.
I don't think they faced a passing offense as great as they have.
There you go. There's
Hold
the
on.
key to the game.
Hold
Bang,
on.
right there.
Hold on. However, they did. They did face Deshaun Watson,
Who?
Who's the Clemson starting quarterback
Okay.
and probably going to be the first overall pick in the draft.
Who is stealing money from the Heisman votes. He should not be in the Heisman
So he
candidacy.
should not be in the Heisman candidacy at all. But he started out really great at the beginning of the year. I think he's a great quarterback. So yes, he has played. They have played a good quarterback. Have they played a passing attack as potent as this? No. But last time Jake Browning saw a lineman this big, he fell down without pressure.
True.
Lacey, how good is this UW passing offense?
He was tripping over his own feet.
Tripped over that.
Yeah, I'd agree with Drew. I don't think Alabama has faced an offense quite like the Dogs when they are on. Jake Browning has thrown 42 touchdowns this season, the most, probably top 5 in the country right now. And then John Ross is also one of the top receivers in college football right now with 17 receiving touchdowns on the season. I don't think Alabama's faced a duo like that yet.
I think that's fair. Kellen, do you have thoughts on this? Is where the Huskies going to win this football game? Passing the football?
100%. 100%. And I think that's what they should do. I mean, they have that advantage, I believe, on the outsides. And like I said, it's going to be a game for the ages. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
So to counter the big offensive and defensive linemen of the Alabama Crimson Tide, you would suggest a quick short pass to John Ross where he can then make a play on his own after
exactly. And Pettis. And what's cool is, well, not really cool,
right.
but what's interesting is you look at last game against the Buffs, UW ran the ball, what was it, 40 plays in the first half? I mean, it was unbelievable how they just kept running it down their throats. And my dad was watching the game with me, and he just said that's an offensive coordinator's dream. If you can run the ball, if you can average about 6 yards per carry, keep running the ball. The clock is rolling, and that Colorado could not stop them whatsoever. Alabama is going to be able to stop them, I believe, running the ball, and that's why the throwing needs to be on point. And like I said, Browning needs to bring his Wheaties to this game because they're going to need him.
All right, go for it then. Make a prediction. Who wins and what's the score? Let me know why.
It's hard for me to say this because, again, my best friend Mike is a huge Husky fan. I've kind of begun to appreciate the Huskies, their talent, and stuff like that. I think the Huskies are going to play a heck of a game. I think the Huskies are going to play out of their minds, but at the end of the day, I believe Jake Browning is going to throw a pick late. That's going to cost them the football game. I believe Alabama is going to win 20-17. It's going to be low scoring. The Huskies are going to go ahead early, but Alabama is just too dang good. I believe they're going to win by 3.
All right, Lacey.
Sorry, my last point is look for the Huskies to possibly win the whole thing next year. Because before the season started, I thought the Huskies are going to be amazing in 2 years. Nobody expected this. Nobody. And they have surprised so many people. They have an amazing recruiting, list that they have bringing in. I think next year they're going to be even better. Even though Ross is leaving, I believe guys are going to step up and they will be a better team next year, and they will have a better chance to win the following year.
That's fair. Lacey, what do you think?
Guys, I remember a few weeks, like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago when we were talking about the Dogs, and I was saying how I would love to see them play a team like Alabama, Clemson, one of these top teams, just because no one believed in the Huskies. They're playing in the Pac-12, it's not that good, they're not going up against top competition. Well, now's their time to prove people wrong and to show people that they definitely deserve to be where they're at. Kellen already said it earlier, but yeah, the Dogs are going to have to be pretty flawless if they're going to want to beat Bama. And that's what it's going to come down to. They're going to have to put together a perfect performance if they want a chance at this thing. Okay. And I don't want to give a score because I honestly don't know which way it's going to go if the Dogs can come out. Tough.
That's fair. Drew, what do you got?
Alabama 35-17. There's not even going to be a discussion about it.
Wait, what was it?
Alabama 35-17.
Wow.
John Ross is good for one big play to get a touchdown. Another one, Jake will throw one.
He also returns, though, remember?
Say one big play to get a touchdown. Jake will throw one to somebody. There's 2 touchdowns. You kick a field goal, 17. That's what I think is going to happen. The run game's going absolutely nowhere on Alabama. I can promise you that. So if you make UW one-dimensional, Alabama and Nick Saban aren't dumb. They're not dumb. If they make them one-dimensional, this game's over before it starts. you're going to need them to be able to run the ball, and if they can't run the ball, this game won't be close.
All right.
Period. 35-17.
That's fair.